guys, today we're going to be talking about taxing and spending bills. I know this might not be what you want to do on your day off, but it is important and it will be on the test. So I'll try and get through this pretty quickly, and if you have any questions, you can certainly talk to me tomorrow. I'm going to skip this. We can talk about it tomorrow. All right, federal revenue and spending. So the Constitution says in Article 1, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States, to borrow money on credit of the United States. It also says that no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law. So what the heck does that all mean? That's what we're going to talk about today. By the end of the day, my hope is that you understand how the government raises and allocates money. Way back in the founding of our nation, our founding fathers were angry about being taxed without representation. Even today, people are angry about the taxes that they pay. What do they pay for? Why do we have to tax? Why is that necessary? And I know we've talked about that a little bit in class. Do you trust your representative to make decisions about taxing and spending your money? When you go to vote, when you guys are 18 years old, that's something to think about. Is this person going to tax me appropriately, or are they going to tax me too much or too little? So we're looking at the legislative branch, so we'll talk about the role Congress plays in making money. All revenue or tax bills begin in the House of Representatives. And we talked about yesterday and last week how bills are made. Tax bills have to start in the House versus some bills can start in either the House or the Senate. The bills are shaped by the House Ways and Means Committee, very, very powerful committee with many subcommittees. Tax bills are debated under a closed rule in the House, and then amendments to those bills are added in the Senate. So how do we spend the money? Congress uses an authorization bill to set up a program which is then funded by an appropriations bill. The House and Senate have committees dedicated to appropriations bills. So they have committees that are dedicated just to talking about tax bills. And you can see here, they both have appropriations committees. You'll want to get those definitions down in your review to make sure you understand them. All right, this is an example from your book, and it's talking about there was a huge hurricane in 2012 that destroyed parts of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, and destroyed infrastructure, which is something that's been in the news quite a bit lately. 131 people died, and there was estimated to be between $30 and $68 billion in damage. So basically, Obama asked for $60 billion in aid to go to these states to help with cleanup and repair and fixing roads and anything that had been destroyed, getting help getting that fixed. Throughout the next couple of months, the House Republicans were saying that all spending that was going to happen had to be offset by other parts in the budget. So in other words, if we were going to give these states $60 billion, then you had to cut that spending somewhere else. The Democratic members of Congress and the president were willing to make some of those cuts, but not as much as the Republicans wanted. What happened was basically this bill went back and forth between Republicans and Democrats, and it ended up not making it all the way through Congress to be passed before the session ended. So basically the bill died. Chris Christie, who was governor of New Jersey at the time, was very angry. He said, this isn't a political battle. We're looking at the lives of millions of people that were affected, and we really need to help them out. So in the next session, Congress did get together and they did pass a bill to help after Hurricane Sandy. But that give and take happens in Congress, and it's just something to be aware of. Okay, so this is a congressional hearing simulation. I will just give you some of the basics. This will be something we can talk about in class. So a bill has been introduced into the House to cut the federal budget by doing away with public funding for presidential campaigns. This funding is provided by taxpayers who voluntarily agree that $3 of their federal taxes should go to the campaign fund. Candidates who take federal funds agree to certain limitations on their spending. So basically, this is something that could happen in Congress, saying, should we be able to allocate funds to the presidential campaign fund, or should we not do that? And like I said, this is something we can talk a little bit about tomorrow, or you can take a look through the simulation yourself. It's in your book. And then if you have any questions, we can talk about it later. Earmarks. Part of funding that will go towards a specific purpose, often not related to the bill completely. So in your text, and you're going to have to watch this if you want to get questions answered from this, basically what it's saying is that sometimes in a tax bill, you can see this buried in fine print. What happens is representatives or senators will stick things in a tax bill that they're pretty sure is going to pass, but it might not have anything or very small things to do with the bill. This happens all the time in Congress. And if it's not caught, it just goes through and it's passed. But this is how sometimes senators and representatives get money or for projects to their constituents in different parts of the government. Okay, uncontrollable expenditures. So there are definitely monies that are spent that have to be spent, required government expenditures that continue from one year to the next. These are called entitlements. And they're not really entitlements because you guys pay into them from the time you start working. Examples are Medicare, Social Security, and veterans pensions. These are things that it doesn't matter how much they cost, the government is basically required to pay them. Well, where do we get the money for that? Certainly we pay into Medicare and Social Security. And if you're in the military, you'll pay into your pension. At the same time, some of these costs are significantly more than people are paying in. That's one of the reasons why our deficit is growing, is because those entitlements were set up a long time ago, and people are still entitled to get them. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, there is a self-check quiz. You can click on the actual slideshow if you want to check that out. And otherwise, go ahead and answer the questions in this ed puzzle, and I will see you tomorrow.